A hopeless young orphan boy, without any love, randomly meets with a mysterious dark knight, making him become the prince of demons, and eventually, he rises to be the demon king. As his story unfolds, the most insane plot twist ever happens. The world is split into two distinct realms. The first is the Kingdom of White, located high up in the sky. A queen reigns over this celestial kingdom. The second is the Kingdom of Black. It sits on the barren, desolate land below. This realm is presided over by the King of Darkness. Our begins as the Queen of the White Kingdom stands against the dark forces. She is determined to safeguard the parent rune, a valuable relic, no matter what. In the barren land, we meet a young man, an unnamed villager. For simplicity, we'll call him Hyro. Hyro is a diligent worker, ready to begin his daily chores in his village. Hyro steps out of his humble dwelling and engages in conversations with his fellow villagers. Out of the blue, one of his neighbors brings alarming news. Monstrous, demonic creatures are advancing toward their village. Fearing the worst, the adults entrust Hyro with the safety of the village children. His task is to lead the young ones to the safety of a hilltop while the adults brace themselves to battle the incoming beasts. However, as Hyro is guiding the children up the mountain, they are ambushed. A beast resembling a giant centipede lunges at them. Tragically, Hyro's sword is ineffective against the creature's hard skin. This creature proves to be a ruthless killer, taking the lives of several children. Amid the chaos, Hyro manages to rescue just one child. However, the triumph is short-lived as the saved child succumbs to the venom of the monstrous centipede. When Hyro finally makes his way back to his village, he is met with utter devastation. The village is in ruins, and all its residents have fallen in the fight against the dark forces. Days pass, and a stranger clad in impressive armor, named Skiers, comes to the destroyed village. Upon encountering Hyro, he inquires if there's a nearby village. Hyro sadly informs him of the village that once stood but is now annihilated by the beasts. Skiers doesn't comment on this news. Skiers then asks about Hyro's current task. Hyro reveals he's digging graves for his fallen villagers. But after an extended period of digging, exhaustion finally takes over. Hyro collapses, drained of all his strength, onto the very ground he's been laboring on. Noticing Hyro's state, Skiers advises him to take a break and eat. Hyro responds saying he doesn't have the time to rest. To help him out, Skiers pulls out a loaf of bread and hands it over to Hyro. Without missing a beat, Hyro takes the bread and eats it. As they start to chat, Hyro shares his viewpoint. He believes that both the Kingdom of Light and Darkness are part of the same world, implying that both are crucial to maintaining the planet's balance. Skiers, however, doesn't quite grasp Hyro's point of view. Hyro also shares his deepest desire for everyone on Earth to find happiness. Skiers responds that strength is required to achieve such a goal. With that, the armored old man presents Hyro with a sword, promising to teach him its proper use. Their training commences, and as expected, Skiers easily overpowers Hyro in their first sparring match. Yet, Hyro is undeterred. He jumps right back into the duel, voicing his determination to bring change to the kingdom and protect the innocent lives. Upon hearing Hyro's resolution, Skiers advises him that if he truly wishes to instigate change, he should aim to be the king of the Dark Kingdom. In the midst of their duel, it's revealed that Skiers himself once aspired to be the Dark King, but was defeated. The duel carries on, swords clashing, until Hyro manages to disarm Skiers. Then, suddenly, Skiers collapses to the ground. He reveals to Hyro that he is dying, having recently lost a battle against the King of Darkness, which left him grievously injured. In his final moments, Skiers entrusts Hyro with his own sword. He instructs Hyro to travel to the capital of the Black Kingdom. Once there, he must find Valis and deliver a rather odd message, like and subscribe. Skiers insists on these exact words, leaving Hyro puzzled but accepting the mission nonetheless. Valis, according to Skiers, will comprehend the message and offer his support to Hyro. Accepting Skiers' mission, Hyro sets out towards the capital of the Black Kingdom, aspiring to become the next Dark King. Meanwhile, in the White Kingdom, the Queen Iris is seen engaged in combat against a horde of evil beings. In the heat of the battle, Queen Iris draws power from the parent rune. This artifact serves as an infinite source of energy, enabling her to conquer the dark creatures. However, her victory is short-lived as the beasts reappear almost instantly. Luckily, Iris isn't alone in this fight. Phaeus, the commander of her army, arrives just in time to assist her. Together, they manage to push back the dark forces. Yet, at the end of the battle, Iris is left in deep thought, the ongoing war with the Kingdom of Darkness taking a heavy toll on her resources. Meanwhile, Hyro has arrived at the Black Kingdom's capital. After an extensive search, he finally locates Valis. Initially, Valis assumes Hyro has simply taken Skiers' sword, But when Hyro utters like and subscribe, Valis immediately recognizes the code. Acknowledging the message, Valis pledges his loyalty to Hyro. That same night, the White Kingdom falls under attack by Bal, a winged monster armored in formidable protective gear. Queen Iris doesn't hesitate to confront the monstrous intruder, causing considerable destruction within the capital of the Kingdom of Light. At this critical moment, Elancia, the Elf King, steps into battle Bal. Despite his best efforts, Bal proves too powerful for him. Overwhelmed by his adversary's strength, Elancia seeks additional help. Suddenly, Queen Iris arrives, ready to take on Bal herself. On another front, Feis encounters a group of Dark Army soldiers. Interestingly, they express no interest in battle. They explain that they are merely peasants, forced into this war due to the ongoing conflict between the two kingdoms. Feis, initially planning to spare the soldiers, is suddenly attacked by them. It's at this point we learn that the soldiers of the Dark Army are under the absolute control of the Dark King. The king's subjects are unable to resist his commands. Despite the surprise attack, Feis easily overcomes the soldiers. Meanwhile, Iris is locked in battle with Bal, exerting her full power. Yet, she is still no match for the beast. Feeling desperate, Iris considers drawing more power from the parent rune. However, she decides against it at the last moment, fearing it could destabilize the rune and trigger a disaster. Recognizing Iris' limitations, Bal ends the fight and leaves. Following the battle, the soldiers of the Light Kingdom busy themselves aiding the injured citizens and warriors. Iris is left to ponder on the recent events. Simultaneously, Valis is engaged in a conversation with the current Dark King. The king orders Valis to assemble a squad to attack the White Kingdom. Valis voices his concern about the risks, but the king is indifferent. His single-minded goal is for darkness to engulf everything. Yet, before launching the attack, the king instructs Valis to devise a plan to counter Bal, considering the beast a threat to both kingdoms. Soon after, Valis meets with Hyro. When Hyro asks where he's been, Valis reveals he was with the Dark King. He explains that his duty is to obey the king's orders and serve his potential successors. Following this, Valis informs Hyro that he will educate him in all areas necessary to become a worthy successor. Under Valis' guidance, Hyro immerses himself in various subjects a future king needs to master, ranging from history to swordsmanship. Hyro dedicates several weeks to studying and practicing, eventually managing to defeat Valis in a fencing match. Impressed by Hyro's progress, Valis congratulates him. He then presents Hyro with a special armor, a privilege reserved for those who are successors to the throne. Elsewhere, we encounter a young girl named Groza. She's also a potential successor to the Black King's throne. As she explores the Dark Kingdom with her escorts, several evil creatures ambush them. Groza, showcasing her impressive powers, defeats most of them. However, one beast survives and attacks her from behind. At this moment, Hyro steps in and slays the beast, saving Groza. As expected, Groza expresses her gratitude to Hyro. She then inquires about Hyro's identity, to which he reveals he is a successor to the Dark King. Groza then invites Hyro to a bar for a chat. During their conversation, Groza proposes a competition among the successors. She explains that if Hyro emerges as the top successor, he will be granted the Great Black Sword. This would serve as recognition of him being the rightful Dark Prince and the king's successor. Hyro agrees to take part in the competition. Unbeknownst to them, a red-haired man named Adele has been eavesdropping on their conversation. Meanwhile, in the White Kingdom, Iris is still dwelling on her battle with Bal. Her thoughts drift back to the time before she became queen. She and her sister, Shima, were once both potential successors to the throne. Despite this, there was no animosity between them as they had promised not to bear any resentment, regardless of who was chosen. One day, the queen summons the sisters for an evaluation, but she doesn't make a decision at that point. Afterward, Shima remarks about the heavy responsibilities that come with being a queen. Later, Shima invites Iris to dinner, mentioning that their friend Feis is eager to see her. Iris accepts the invitation, stating she's also looking forward to seeing Feis, whom she hasn't seen in a while. That night, after dinner, Feis walks Iris home. On their way, Iris asks Feis if he thinks she's capable of becoming a queen. Feis, in response to Iris' question, admits that he doesn't have a definitive answer. However, he pledges that no matter who becomes the sovereign, he will serve loyally as her sword. Iris is left with lingering doubts. Suddenly, an evil entity of darkness appears before her. With no guards around to help, Iris is forced to request a bit of power from the progenitor rune. Using this power, she successfully vanquishes the dark entity. This victory strengthens Iris's self-confidence. Unexpectedly, the parent rune communicates with her, declaring her as the destined successor to the throne. Hearing this, Iris vows to herself to become an excellent queen and fulfill all her duties, regardless of the sacrifices required. In the present day, back in the Dark Kingdom, Hyro is preparing for the competition. Before leaving, he asks Valis if he will be attending the tournament. Valis declines, explaining that he needs to attend to the king's demands. Nevertheless, he expresses confidence that Hyro will triumph in the competition. Thanking Valis, Hyro departs for the tournament. Soon, Hyro reaches a coliseum, where he'll compete against other potential successors to the throne. Once in the arena, Groza outlines the rules of the tournament. The contenders need to defeat the most evil creatures and remain standing to move to the next round. She then mentions that the prize for the winner is a legendary sword. The tournament begins. The young competitors face a series of savage beasts, defeating them without much trouble. In order to elevate the challenge, the tournament organizers release a Cyclops onto the battlefield. Many of the contestants are swiftly defeated by the creature, but not Hyro. Utilizing all the skills Valis had taught him, Hyro successfully slays the Cyclops. This concludes the first round of the tournament. The only competitors left standing are Hyro and Adele, the red-haired boy who was eavesdropping earlier. It turns out that Adele is also a potential successor to the throne. Before the final battle, both finalists take a short break and have a conversation. During their chat, Adele critiques Hyro for having helped a fellow competitor in the first round. Adele views this as a weakness, arguing that a future Dark King should be ruthless and show no mercy. Hyro, however, disagrees. He believes that protecting people, no matter what, is the most important thing. With their perspectives clear, Hyro and Adele square off in a decisive battle to determine the tournament champion. After a tough struggle, Hyro uses all his skills and decisively triumphs. As Hyro corners his opponent, he chooses not to deliver the final blow. Confused, Adele asks why Hyro doesn't finish him off. Hyro explains that killing his opponents contradicts his personal ideals. The duel concludes when Adele admits defeat. Once the battle ends, Groza declares Hyro the rightful Dark Prince and the primary successor to the throne. After the award ceremony, Hyro receives his prize, the legendary Black Sword. Later, Valis meets with Hyro and congratulates him on his tournament victory. He then assigns Hyro a significant mission, one that only the Dark Prince can undertake, delivering a message to the Queen of Light. Hyro agrees to the task. However, Hyro won't be going alone. Adele, the second most important candidate, will accompany him on his journey. The next day, Adele and Hyro set off for the Kingdom of Light aboard a magical ship. After a few hours, they reach their destination. Upon their arrival, they are met by Phaeus. Initially, the general reacts with hostility. Adele, however, uses his diplomacy to defuse the situation. Once things have calmed down, Adele asks Phaeus to escort them to the princess. They have an important message from the King of Darkness to deliver. Despite his initial mistrust, Phaeus agrees to guide them to the palace to deliver their message. A few minutes later, Hyro and Iris encounter each other for the first time. The Queen and the Dark King's envoys then start discussing the contents of the letter. The Dark King apparently seeks to form a pact with Iris to defeat Baal. Iris is unsure about accepting this alliance, as the Dark King is known to be exceedingly cruel and tyrannical. Therefore, she asks the envoys for some time to reflect on the proposition. As a result, Hyro and Adele extend their stay in the Kingdom of Light. The following day, the duo encounters Iris once more at the palace. Iris inquires about Hyro's views on the proposed alliance. Hyro responds that despite the Dark King's cruel nature, such an alliance could greatly benefit both parties and could protect countless innocents from harm. Upon hearing Hyro's perspective, Iris decides to accept the pact. In this way, the Kingdom of Light and the Kingdom of Darkness unite to confront the monstrous Baal. The next day, the ruler of the Kingdom of Light sets off for the Kingdom of Darkness to consolidate the new alliance with its king. In the meantime, the Dark King's army starts to mobilize, preparing for the anticipated confrontation with Baal. As expected, Valis and Groza take charge, leading the Dark Kingdom's soldiers. Suddenly, Baal emerges, causing chaos and destruction. The Dark Army fights valiantly against the beast, but their efforts fall short, and they are swiftly defeated. The only warriors left standing are Valis and Groza, who form the last line of defense. Despite their best efforts, battling Baal proves futile as he is too powerful. As Valis and Groza are cornered, their lives hang in the balance. Unexpectedly, the Dark King intervenes, rescuing his two remaining warriors. Baal and the Dark King then stand face to face. Before their battle commences, they exchange a few words. The ensuing fight is intense and chaotic. Despite his immense power, the Dark King is unable to inflict any damage on Bal, who mocks the situation. At the brink of hopelessness, Iris, the Queen of Light, arrives to aid the Dark King in battle. Her first move is to use her powers to immobilize Bal. Bal, taken aback by this development, struggles to comprehend the unlikely alliance between the Light Queen and the Dark King. Next, the two rulers combine their powers to trap Bal within a volcano. Their plan works, and the beast is vanquished. Iris doesn't engage in conversation with the Dark King. She simply gives him a meaningful look and departs the scene. After the epic battle, Iris returns to her palace, utterly exhausted. Upon reaching the palace, she collapses onto Hyro. In her weary state, she manages to tell Hyro that they've fulfilled their agreement before she succumbs to unconsciousness. The queen had used a significant portion of the progenitor rune's power, which drained her considerably. As Iris lays resting, Shima, possessing healing powers, arrives and begins the process of healing the queen. A few hours later, Hyro meets Adele in the palace's guest room. The two engage in conversation, during which Adele confesses his interest in Shima. He also expresses his suspicion that Hyro has feelings for Iris. Hyro's reaction to Adele's comment seems to confirm his hunch. Later that night, General Feus informs Hyro and Adele that Bal has been defeated. Adele responds by stating that if Bal is truly defeated, they should return to the Dark Kingdom the following day. Back in the Dark Kingdom, Valis assigns Groza the task of delivering a new message to the Queen of Light. Initially reluctant, Groza accepts the task when she realizes it's a chance to see Hyro again. She then embarks on her journey to the Kingdom of Light, traveling aboard the magical flying ship. After a long journey, Groza finally arrives at Iris's kingdom. Once Groza arrives, she is promptly ushered to the palace where she delivers the message to Queen Iris. Reading the letter, Iris is taken aback to learn that the Dark King wishes to extend their alliance until the main city of the Dark Kingdom is fully restored. Iris chooses to agree to this proposal and instructs her advisor to draft a suitable response. In the meantime, Iris leads Hyro and his companions on a tour of the palace. Under her guidance, they wander through the castle's many rooms and corridors. During this exploration, they come across Tio, the younger brother of General Feus. They learn that Tio has healing powers when they witness him healing some small, blue creatures. In a moment of unity, the women in the group propose exchanging outfits as a symbol of peace between their two distinct kingdoms. Given the contrasting styles of their traditional dress, Adele and Feus are the first to swap attire, with Shima and Groza following suit. Suddenly, Adele poses a question to Hyro, asking him who he thinks looks better. Caught off guard, Hyro struggles to respond but eventually concedes that they both look good. Upon hearing Hyro's diplomatic answer, Groza is delighted. That same night, Queen Iris invites Hyro and his companions to join her for dinner. During the meal, the group from the Dark Kingdom combines their traditional ingredients with those of the Light Kingdom, creating a diverse and flavorful feast. They all enjoy a wonderful evening together. Before parting, Queen Iris invites the group on a picnic the next day to gather wild vegetables. As expected, Hyro and his friends readily accept the invitation. Later that night, Hyro and Groza find a moment to chat privately. In the course of their conversation, Groza reassures Hyro that she will always be by his side, supporting him in all his endeavors. Hyro simply responds, "Okay, thanks," and decides to overlook the clear intent in the girl's words. The following day, both groups plan another adventure, this time to the forest for gathering wild vegetables. Adele suggests a fun twist before they start. She proposes they form pairs and turn the activity into a friendly competition. The duo that gathers the most vegetables will be declared winners. Groza's face lights up at this idea because it presents a chance to spend time with Hyro, the main character. Feus, likewise, is keen on the idea, hoping he could team up with Queen Iris. Before the vegetable hunting begins, Iris offers to provide some guidance. She shares tips on how to spot and collect the vegetables properly. Seeing the Queen's expertise in this field, they decide she should sit out of the competition. Thus, the vegetable collection competition commences. Hyro ends up pairing with little Theo. Their lack of botanical knowledge soon becomes apparent, and they seek advice from Iris. Eventually, Iris ends up joining Hyro's team. The two get to enjoy some alone time during the activity. Feus and Groza can't help but observe them, their hearts filled with envy. Despite this, Hyro and Theo's team emerge as the winners of the vegetable collection competition. After all the vegetables are gathered, Iris takes charge of preparing lunch with the freshly picked ingredients. While she cooks, everyone else busies themselves collecting firewood and cleaning the vegetables. As Iris washes the vegetables, Hyro accidentally splashes her with water. The water-soaked clothes clinging to her body makes Hyro blush, and the queen shares a similar reaction. The awkwardness suggests that they both harbor feelings for each other, a fact that might have been quite clear to anyone paying attention. Despite the awkwardness, the scene continues. The pair then retreat to a private spot to dry their clothes and spend some more time alone. When they return to the group, now in dry clothes, Groza can't hide her annoyance at seeing them together. All the characters chip in to prepare lunch. In the end, they sit together to enjoy a tasty meal. It's a cheerful and pleasant time. Unfortunately, this peaceful moment doesn't last long. The very next day, the Dark King commands Hyro and his friends to immediately return to the Dark Kingdom. Before they leave, Iris hands Adele a letter. The letter outlines a proposal for free trade between the Dark and Light Kingdoms. Adele readily agrees to deliver this message to his king. But then, his demeanor suddenly changes. He mentions that the Dark Kingdom suffers from a lack of sunlight due to Iris's realm, rendering the land barren. Iris, in response, states that this is just the way the world naturally is. Suddenly, the Dark King takes possession of Adele. He transforms into a demon and lunges at the queen. Hyro reacts instantly. Drawing his sword, he kills his comrade to protect Iris. The sight of Hyro's swift and deadly action leaves Iris shocked. This seems to be a natural reaction to the violent turn of events. Hyro is then seized and confined, deemed a threat by those who witnessed his actions. This incident breaks the alliance between the Kingdom of Light and the Dark Kingdom. Groza, consequently, is forced to flee the Light Kingdom. The incident deeply disturbs Phaeus. He had hoped that the two kingdoms could coexist peacefully. What troubles him even more is the looming inevitability of war between the two lands, which now seems to be a never-ending conflict. Meanwhile, Iris goes to the room where the parent rune resides, seeking guidance. The rune responds by enveloping Iris in a brilliant flash of light. Hyro, in the meantime, comes to his senses in a prison cell. Naturally, he starts to reflect on the recent events. He realizes that he had acted on impulse, killing his comrade because he saw Iris's life in danger. He spends his time in prison deep in thought, grappling with the consequences of his actions. Just a few minutes later, Iris, who has transformed into a white cat, visits the dungeon where Hyro is held. She uses magic to unlock his cell and then leads him towards an exit. Eventually, they reach a cliff where Hyro finds his two swords. Unexpectedly, the white cat changes back into Iris. Hyro is initially taken aback by the transformation, but then he remembers that he lives in a world of fantasy, and the shock fades. The two young people join hands, symbolically uniting. It's a touching moment. Unfortunately, their moment of peace is shattered when soldiers from the Light Kingdom show up to arrest Hyro. Iris doesn't hesitate to tell Hyro to run. After sharing a hug, Hyro grabs his swords and escapes on a ship that conveniently arrives to fetch him. He returns to the Dark Kingdom. Back in her own realm, Iris is left thinking about Hyro. Not long after, her kingdom is attacked by a group of dark beasts, presumably sent by the Dark King. Iris instructs her advisor to rally the kingdom's warriors for battle. In the midst of this, Phaeus requests to be temporarily relieved from his duties leading the army. He explains his intention to find medicine for Iris, as he believes she's in poor health. Iris reassures him that she will recover and emphasizes his importance in protecting the kingdom. Despite Iris's reassurances, Phaeus decides to disobey her orders. He leaves to seek the assistance of Alantia, the Elf King. As the two of them stand in the library, Phaeus expresses his concerns to Alantia. Alantia reveals that there is a way to restore Iris's health. He mentions a mysterious element known as the soul, found in a remote cave. This element has the ability to heal a person's magical energy. Alantia further explains that if they can get this soul to Iris, she will be healed instantly. So, Alantia and Phaeus set out from the capital of the Light Kingdom. Their destination is the cave deep in the forest. Their mission is to find the magical element to cure the queen. Meanwhile, after saying goodbye to Iris, Hyro is more determined than ever to see her again. With this in mind, he starts training harder than before. We see him continuing his practice sessions with Valis. While Hyro is busy training, Groza appears. She tells him that the Dark King has commanded them to fight some creatures outside the country's capital. Valis suspects that this is just a ploy to keep Hyro occupied. Soon after, Valis meets with the Dark King and reports that all the troops are ready to head towards the Light Kingdom. However, Hyro remains oblivious to these plans. After leaving the capital, Hyro encounters various evil beasts. He successfully fights them off with Groza's help. Soon after, he watches as a ship from the Dark Kingdom sails towards the Light Kingdom. Suddenly, they are attacked by a flock of flying creatures. Hyro manages to defend himself, but Groza is caught off guard. She loses her balance and falls off a cliff. Seeing her in danger, Hyro swiftly moves to save her. Unfortunately, both of them end up stuck on the cliff edge. To make matters worse, a terrifying demon appears on the scene. As danger looms, Hyro, without any hesitation, lunges into a fierce battle against a fearsome beast. It's a daring move, but one that reflects his unwavering courage. Meanwhile, Iris, the Queen of Light, displays the same bravery as she stands firm, ready to defend her kingdom against the impending invasion from the Dark King. Facing the formidable army of the Dark Kingdom, Iris decides to confront the adversary head-on. She's not standing alone, though. She has the support of Shima and the magical warriors who are steadfastly ready to fight by her side. While this intense battle unfolds, General Phaeus and Alantia, the Elf King, undertake a mission. They venture deep into a mysterious, foreboding cave. Their search is extensive, the cave's depths seemingly endless. But their persistence pays off when they finally discover the Radiant Drops, a healing remedy for the Queen. With this valuable medicine in hand, they begin their return journey to the kingdom's capital. Back on the battlefield, Iris continues her resilient struggle against the Dark Kingdom's soldiers. Despite her remarkable skill and strength, the sheer number of enemies is overwhelming. One by one, she defeats the invaders, but their numbers keep increasing, pushing her to her limits. Exhaustion sets in, but before succumbing to fatigue, Iris makes a final protective move. She conjures a magical barrier that envelops and safeguards the city. However, the exertion takes a toll, and she collapses to the ground, drained of her energy. Meanwhile, in the Dark Realm, Hyro continues his own struggle against the beast that bears an uncanny resemblance to a minotaur. The fight is frenetic, intense, but Hyro's incredible skill enables him to conquer his adversary. The dust of the battle clears, revealing Hyro as the victor. Following their triumphant battle, Groza, in a mood of celebration, proposes a victory dinner. Hyro agrees to her invitation. As they sit down for their meal, amidst the calm of the evening, Hyro reflects on the promise he made to the Queen of Light. He declares that this promise is his utmost priority, a thought that clearly doesn't sit well with Groza. Groza reminds Hyro of his responsibilities as the Prince of Darkness, his duty to secure the future of his kingdom. Despite her initial displeasure, she reassures Hyro that she will stand by him, lending her support to help him achieve his goals. Then, in a moment of vulnerability, Groza confesses her feelings for Hyro, adding an unexpected turn to their conversation. Hyro, on hearing Groza's confession, remains silent. She questions him, asking if his lack of response is because he has feelings for Iris. Without saying a word, Hyro simply nods, confirming her suspicions. This rejection prompts Groza to leave hastily. As she departs, she resolves to stay beside Hyro irrespective of the circumstances. She desires to witness his ascension to the throne as the next Dark King. Even amidst all this, it's worth mentioning that Groza is indeed a striking figure of beauty. Back in the Kingdom of Light, Phaeus arrives at the palace in record time. He immediately hands over the shining drops to Shima, who can utilize her powers to restore the Queen's health. Shima performs a brief yet powerful ritual, causing Iris to regain her strength. With renewed vigor, she's ready to continue defending her kingdom. Iris, appreciative of Phaeus' efforts, extends her thanks to him. Resolute, she sets her sights on her next goals, defeating the Dark Army and reuniting with Hyro. Meanwhile, in the Dark Kingdom, Hyro watches as a massive fleet of ships set sail towards the Kingdom of Light. Back in the Kingdom of Light, the battle commences once again as Iris, Phaeus, and Shima lower the protective barrier. They stand bravely against the invading forces, marking the onset of a fierce battle. The clash escalates further when the Dark King himself appears on the battlefield. After a terse exchange of words, the monarchs prepare to duel, signifying a showdown of power. Simultaneously, Phaeus encounters Valis on the battlefield. Recognizing Phaeus as a formidable adversary, Valis chooses to engage him in combat, leading to an intense fight between the two commanders. In the fierce duel between Iris and the Dark King, each ruler fights relentlessly. The Dark King aims to defeat Iris and claim the world as his dominion forever. Iris, on the other hand, wishes to prevent this in order to preserve the natural order of the world. Unfortunately, the Dark King begins to seize control of the battle. Despite uniting her efforts with Shima and the magical soldiers, Iris finds herself outmatched. In a final act of determination, Iris makes the ultimate sacrifice, willing to give up her life so the progenitor rune can annihilate both kingdoms, thereby keeping the world in equilibrium. Simultaneously, in the Dark Kingdom, Hyro sneaks into the royal palace. There, he is unexpectedly met by Adele. Hyro is taken aback but quickly regains his composure, remembering the fantastical world he lives in. Unexpectedly, Adele morphs into a massive beast and lunges at Hyro. Following an intense combat, Hyro eliminates his ex-comrade. With his last breath, Adele discloses that the Dark King is attacking the Kingdom of Light. Determined to assist Iris, Hyro promptly seeks a ship to voyage to the Kingdom of Light. On his way, Hyro encounters a plethora of soldiers attempting to halt him. However, Groza intervenes, aiding him in overpowering the soldiers. Hyro reaches the harbor, but to his dismay, no ship is in sight. Suddenly, a mysterious light radiates from him, and dark wings sprout from his back. Without hesitation, Hyro takes flight towards the Kingdom of Light. Back in the Kingdom of Light, Iris initiates the ritual for the progenitor rune to unleash its full power, intending to obliterate everything in its path, the structures, inhabitants, and the Dark King. As Hyro hurries towards the Kingdom of Light, he encounters and effortlessly overpowers several dark soldiers. Just as he nears the palace, Iris completes the ritual. The progenitor rune begins its destructive rampage. Hyro attempts to reach for Iris's hand, but to no avail. The Kingdom of Light starts to crumble, and its queen meets her end. Enraged, Hyro confronts the Dark King and delivers a powerful stab, ending the villain's reign of terror. Regrettably, in the wake of the progenitor rune's complete destruction, both of our protagonists also meet their demise. Watch this next video. See you on the next one.